All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, comment down below, upvote the video itself. We are here for that weekly segment with Cara McCutcheon. We're going to talk about Louisiana Tech kind of going off the deep end. We're going to talk about how this baseball tournament that's going on this weekend in Minneapolis, it's just a rough setup all around. They're really trying to square peg and round hole this. And we're going to talk about the Lady Rebs and their NCAA prospects. How you doing, Cara?
Hi, Steven. Happy Friday, even though this is going to be on Sunday.
Yeah, seriously. And as you know, I'm wearing a Lakeland Flying Tigers baseball shirt right now. As we know, yesterday I did become a lifelong Detroit Tigers fan. And that was
You're
pretty
going to
great.
love AJ Hinch. I don't know how much longer he'll be in Detroit, but you'll get to – I loved AJ. It was unfortunate, obviously, with everything that happened, but I loved AJ.
It was such a spring – yeah, such a spring training game set up to where at the beginning Baltimore had all of their stars just completely clicking. I mean, their catcher hit a bomb. Their pitcher's throwing 99 on the black. I mean, they were humming. And then all of a sudden, the Tigers turned into the 27 Yankees, as will happen in spring training from time to time. And I think they hit 7 home runs in 2 innings or something like that. It was a fun game. It wasn't overly hot. It was like 80 degrees down here. It was pretty great.
I've always wanted to go to spring training, actually. That's one area I haven't been yet. And I've been to all the playoffs. I've been to a World Series. I want to go experience the spring training side. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, it's really cool because that was the first time that I had ever gone there and done that as well. And you walk up to a minor league stadium that's themed after, well, I mean, whatever it is up in Detroit now. I guess it's Comerica Park, but it's Tiger Town, USA, and it's branded all over there. And you look up there and the Detroit Tigers retired jerseys are hanging. And the place holds 10,000 seats, and it's like the best stadium in the Grapefruit League, and you're like, man, this is pretty. They do a really good job with this. They really do.
Were you able to do any meet and greets, or you just were there for the games?
No, I was just there for the game because we've never done spring training, and I just wanted to see what it looked like. It was a absolute fire uniform game because the Detroit Tigers, as it is, normally they have just great colors.
Oh, great colors.
Yeah, it's just great. And they were playing against the Orioles, so they had the bright orange jersey as the secondary. Yeah. It was just a fantastic uniform game.
Well, I'm going to have to – you're talking me into this. Now I really want to go. So,
yeah.
I've heard from some people Kissimmee is great with the Astros, and they do a really good job. So I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, there's teams all within 2 hours of each other. They bus back and forth. And there's games every day. It's pretty great. But anyway, enough bragging about where I was yesterday.
No, right? Thanks. I was, having to work in in long meetings, but I'm so glad you had a great time, Steven.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, it's fantastic. But Louisiana Tech has completely lost their mind over a Wednesday night game on March 1st, and it is the most stupid stuff that I have ever heard, and it's over a baseball rule that's been in effect for about 150 years. And just now they're complaining about it because they're on the wrong side of it. I don't know if there's any reason to complain except for the fact that game obviously meant a ton to them, and it meant absolutely nothing to Ole Miss.
No. On a grand scale, it doesn't change our RPI or anything. A loss even wouldn't change the RPI in March 1st. So, no. Them sleepy guys probably means more to them, I guess. But they have gotten in the last 2 years. They're building. So, I mean, they could be in the top 3 of their conference and still get into regionals. So I don't really think it really affects them anymore because they're building and they're kind of building a name for themselves, which usually that respectable program side kind of pulls you in a little bit more. But some of that is also you have to win a regional game too. But hey, so.
Absolutely does. And a win over Ole Miss, this is why it's important, and this is why it means so much to Louisiana Tech. If Louisiana Tech wins that second game, that is the difference between them being on the 4 line and on the 3 line, or the difference in them on the 3 and the 2. It was a major deal for them. Like I said, Ole Miss, it doesn't matter. Ole Miss is going after one regardless and doesn't need Louisiana Tech to get anywhere near where they want to be in this golf. They did not play Louisiana Tech this season. It would not matter one way or another. But that's probably the reason they're so pissed off, and that's also part of the reason they're really pissed off that we just don't care.
We don't care that I think
that they're upset. That they're upset.
We don't care that they don't want to play us anymore because they're just a very small fish in a large pond for us. Like they're not who we really focus on. And while we don't think we should lose to them, we don't stick to those losses, right? We just kind of move on for them. So in that sense, I think on the integrity side though, and what their coach is attacking is where the issue lies.
Well, he's talking about putting the tarp on the field and doing what it needs to do. The reality is it rained for 12 hours in Oxford, and they had tornado warnings and thunderstorms. It doesn't matter if a tarp was going down or not. That game was not getting played. And I think they knew that.
Even, like, people are like, oh, you got to bring the tarp out early. Like, you cannot put people to put a tarp out while it's lightning. They cannot pull the tarp while it's in a lightning storm. You have to be off the field. So to think a tarp is going to even do anything while it's lightning, it's just petty.
Yeah.
And so, and I have to say real quick, Bianco's kind of quietness on this has been nice. Like he's handling this quite well. And just the attacks on the program, attacks against him, and he's handling it quite well. I'll say other coaches in our system don't handle that quite the same.
No, Tony Vitello would not handle that well at all.
Oh, I was actually going towards Lane. I was actually meaning Lane, but that's true too.
Well, speaking of the baseball team and Bianco, they're up in Minneapolis, and they have the most awkwardly configured stadium ever. They're playing at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, the Vikings field. They've made it do the best they can for baseball, and that game is going to, by the time you listen to this, only Nebraska will potentially be left. I just think, like, I played a high school baseball game at Piney Woods, and you're from Texas, so you know probably nothing about Piney Woods. But Piney Woods is a very poor private school in the Pine Belt, and they do not have an outfield fence for their baseball field. That is what this U.S. Bank situation, that is what this tournament reminds me of, is just a complete shoehorning. It just reminds me of a road game at Piney Woods.
Yeah, the facilities are great. I think, actually, I'm really kind of interested to watch, and we kind of talked on this earlier this week, but I'm really kind of interested in that Maryland game tonight to see how many home runs are hit by both teams, because those might not be limited considering the limitations of the facility. They definitely have potential for big hitters there for both sides.
After this weekend, home runs over under for Jake Gonzalez on the year, 6.5 over under.
Oh, per game?
Not per game. For the season. After this weekend, his home run total, will he be above 6.5 or below 6.5?
I'm gonna go above. I think so. He's been on fire. I'm sorry, but I think so.
Yeah, with that porch, I have a feeling he's going to hit the ball. Of course, we don't know how well it travels. It could be completely dead air. We just automatically assume it's going to be like the Diamondbacks or Coors Hill field. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, but it looks really interesting. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. News came out this week that they're just resting Hunter Elliott. He has a chance to come back this season. He'll be back in April. And
I would like to say bazinga. I told everyone to stop panicking. The fact that they weren't claiming the stuff and I know Kendall Rogers, they have stuff, but those guys, they're selling subscriptions. They're trying to get you to buy into it. They're trying to make you panic to buy their stuff because they think you're going to get more details that they don't have. Like, can't listen to those guys on Twitter and freak out. Like, they don't, they're promoting and that's fine with it. Like, they're not doing anything wrong. They're doing what's for their business, but they don't really actually know what's going on.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Like healthcare knowledge that the team doesn't have for a player.
They are not going to give healthcare information in this day and age of like HIPAA threats back and forth. They're not going to put that information out. Nobody is. And anybody that claims to have it, have a wary eye for what they're saying. They might be connecting dots, but that doesn't mean they're actually where they say they are. But I'm interested about this baseball tournament this week. The Big Ten schedule continues next week with the Purdue Boilermakers.
A lot of Big Ten this year, huh?
Yeah. We'll see exactly what happens there.
I want to see how pitching does, or I guess improves on. We got a lot of young guys. I'm not going to criticize yet, but I do kind of want to see how pitching develops over the next few series. So, see how we do.
Well, we're getting ready to record right now, and Ole Miss is getting ready for their first SEC tournament game. So we realize that is going to have a lot to do with what we're about to talk about. But this episode is going to air on Sunday, which means there's a little bit of stuff that could happen in the meantime. But we're going to talk about the Lady Rebs in the NCAA tournament, where they sit. I've seen them anywhere from 7 seed to 8 seed at this point, and they can obviously improve it by beating Texas A&M and if they can get another good result against the South Carolina Gamecocks. What is your outlook in the NCAA tournament for this basketball team?
So I think they could have a little bit of pressure coming into it. It's a first game, some nerves, so we might see a little shaky first. Or I think they'll kind of start out. Also, A&M's coming off a big win, so they probably have a lot of excitement, a little more. I guess motivation factor. It's kind of like when you do have the rest, that side of things. Or momentum, I guess is what I'm trying to say, not motivation. But in a sense, I think we'll get it together in the second half. I think we'll pull through and beat A&M, and I think we'll go on to play hopefully a closer game. It's hard with South Carolina and where they sit energy-wise into the postseason in a tournament and what energizes them there. But I still think we're going to be competitive in that game like we were before. I don't think we see a difference in our play, because if we do come off a win, it's going to force that more wanting to go deeper into the tournament.
Yeah, in last year's tournament game against South Carolina and the Coyotes, those ladies shot threes like crazy, ended up keeping Ole Miss at arm's length, and kind of made it to where our defensive game, you couldn't really play it. So I think moving into the NCAA tournament, that first game and whatever's happened, it's going to be important that the Ole Miss gets the matchup that allows them to make that game ugly, make that game be a defensive game. And if they're allowed to get in their comfort zone, I think this team can do special things. The other team's goal is they need to get this thing open. They need to play a free-flowing style. If they do that, Ole Miss is going to be in a little bit of trouble. But if Ole Miss can make it a little muddy, if Ole Miss can clog it up a bit, they have a chance to, I don't know, this could be a Sweet 16 team, honestly.
The talent's there. They really could. And I think this motivation that we're seeing, and I do mean motivation this time, with Kojo, and even how she's working with her players. And I mean, even from week to week, like you see like just different changes there, like the adversity that's happening and the fight that's happening. Like they're not dropping some of these games, like against Alabama, they pushed and got that win there that they needed to get that double bye. So I really think this team has a lot of fight. I think they have a lot of talent, and I think we have a lot of that defensive side. If we could get some shots going and like maintain a good, at least sticking to a good, healthy, like with South Carolina, because they're going to hit those shots. If we can stay in a good range with them, we could pull off a win there.
Yeah, I really like the way this team plays. I like the heart. If anybody's looking for a roadmap for the men's basketball search, look down the hall at Coach Yo, how she's done it, how she's recruited, how she's built, how she's marketed. It is almost a how-to. It is a building a basketball program for dummies for those that need it. She is the perfect example of what needs to be done. And we'll see if the men's team can go down that road. But either way, good luck for Coach Yo in the SEC tournament and, of course, in the NCAA tournament. Thanks again for making – go ahead.
Oh, I say very much so. Very excited for Coach Yo. Excited for this team. I hope they get a lot of support in it. I'm really almost nervous for them tonight, but a good nervous.
Yeah.
Or this afternoon.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, you get to hear from big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. All good stuff like that. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Thank you, Cara, so much for coming by today. We'll talk to you next week. I think we're going to set this one up to debut on either Saturday night or Sunday night. One of those two. I'm not sure there. But I appreciate it, Karen. We'll see you next week, okay?
All right. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.